Good morning, guys, or good afternoon, whether you're joining me from the present or the future. Welcome back to another FutureFight Vanguard video. And welcome back to V-BT08 FutureFight Vanguard videos. We're on our Silverdust Blaze run through of our FutureFights, and I'm gonna be releasing 3 videos today. This is video number 3. So if you guys haven't checked out the Overlord video and the Messiah video, definitely the Messiah video, because it has some updates that I've had since the channel. If you guys have been around my channel for a while, like, even seeing me like this is like an update in itself, because I didn't have a setup before. But now I definitely do have like a solid recording setup for this. So this is really cool, and I'm really excited. I have like a lot of new things coming for you guys, and I'm really excited about the revamp of both my channels. But yeah, today we're going to be talking about another V-BT08 deck. This is going to be the second Kagero deck coming out of this set, which is going to be the Blademaster deck. So it has a completely different style from Overlord, so we're going to talk about it. It's more based on retire and control, field advantage, and kind of like burst. Whereas Overlord is just focused on kind of placing emphasis on your Vanguard and just kind of swinging at them and restanding and stuff like that. But you guys will know all that if you watch my last video, so definitely go check out the Overlord video. But with that being said, like I said before, definitely go check out the Messiah video for the updates. I'm going to be playing exciting things like some Digimon. So you guys will be able to see me like kind of branch out to some different avenues. I haven't really been as interested in Vanguard because I haven't been able to play in person. There's like no physical cards that I've owned that are new. Locals at where I live is pretty much like non-existent until 2021. There's no events because Bushiroad has no events right now, so it's just I'm kind of cruising right now, and I'm kind of just keeping up with Vanguard at the same time as you guys. I pretty much took a whole break for like the whole summer because there was nothing going on. There was no sets, no nothing. So it was kind of hard to want to stay interested in Vanguard, especially, you know, with all the stuff going on during coronavirus quarantine, stuff like that. So I'm definitely trying to jump back in now, and now, you know, my future fights are kind of different because I'm learning from my viewers and my viewers are learning from me. So we're gonna get right into it. If you guys haven't already, be sure to subscribe and click the bell button down below so you don't have to miss a single video going forward. Be sure to like the video if you like it, comment down below letting me know your thoughts on the video, and just what you think of the build. You know, if you like it, if you dislike it, if you have some changes that you would make. What is your build? You know, what matchups do you think it's good against? Stuff like that. You guys tell me, because, you know, I'm not like I haven't practiced a whole lot more than I used to. So it'll definitely be interesting hearing you guys' take on things. But yeah, we're gonna get it right into the Blademaster video. Only things left to say is, if you guys haven't checked out my second channel yet, which is about anime, animation, and video games, check that out in the description down below. It's Let's Plays Animes. And then our Twitch account is LPA Empire. That's going to be down below in the description as well. And if you guys want to click the join button to become a member, definitely do that. There's a lot of cool things like contests, revamps for the channel, all that stuff coming up. So definitely go down below and do that if that is something that you are interested in. But with that being said, let's get right into the Blademaster deck. So I'm actually going to do something kind of awkward here, just so that I can show you guys a part of this deck. Okay, guys, so let's get right into it. So we actually got a new, never before seen Dragonic Blademaster out of the set. This is actually not a G clone card because we never ever got this card in G. So this is a brand new Blademaster that they made just for us to get in Standard, which is actually pretty cool. I really like that they did that. But let's talk about its effects. So this is Dragonic Blademaster Soin. This is our ace card of the deck. We run 4. We actually only run 5 grade 3s total, and that leaves a lot more space for our grade 2s and our grade 1s. Mostly because there's not a lot of grade 3s that you would run in this deck that would be like something that you would want to really run hardcore. But let's talk about Soin's skills. So it has 2 Vanguard abilities. The first one is, during your turn, if your opponent has no rear guards, this unit and all of your vision tokens get plus 10,000 power. So firstly, if your opponent has no rear guards, this deck is all about clearing your opponent's board and control. Often cards, the 2 grade 3s that we do have in this deck that we ride, they do wipe the board with their skills with some extra conditions. So pretty much you will always have the first skill live, and then vision tokens are a mechanic that is unique to this deck alone. So you can actually create vision tokens with this deck, which is what this looks like, is a vision token. And it basically is a grade 3 with twin drive, and it can perform drive check for the battle that it attacks. So basically it goes on the rearguard circle, on either front row rearguard circle, assuming that you want to attack with it, which you do. And then basically it can twin drive on rearguard. So basically you end up getting 4 drive checks, 2 between your Vanguard and 2 between your vision token on the rearguard circle. So very, very cool mechanic. So obviously you can go Force 2 a lot more with this deck because the power is being given from Soin to both itself and your vision token. So it only makes sense that when you have a deck that gives power already, if it doesn't need more power than that, then you can just go Force 2 because you already have power, right? Same thing where if you have a deck where you already have crit, you might as well just go Force 1 because you already have crit, so you're just adding power. So whichever one is missing, you pretty much add it. So then its second ability is during the main phase, you can discard 2 cards if this card is on the Vanguard circle. Then you call a vision token to the rearguard circle. At the end of the turn, the vision token dies. So that's a thing with the vision token in general. It usually always dies at the end of the turn. And then if you have a Wyvern Strike Doha and a Wyvern Strike Garon on your rearguard circle, then you can retire all your opponent's rearguard. So basically the difference between this one and the old Blademaster is that for the old Blademaster, you have to have Doha and Garon on your field to even call out a vision token. With Soin, you can call out a vision token regardless of whatever happens. However, if Doha and Garon are there at the same time, you can wipe their board, which is ideally what you would want to do, considering that the first effect of Soin requires them to have no rearguard. So you're always aiming to wipe their board, so always be very careful about how you place your Dohas and your Garons, especially if your opponent is playing a control deck, because they can get sniped, they will get sniped, and then sometimes you'll just be SOL. So we don't want to be SOL when we're playing this deck, so definitely be careful about how you're using your pieces. Moving on to our backup grade 3, we have the original Dragonic Blademaster from Standard. So it has 2 abilities. The first one is if your opponent has no rearguards, this unit gets plus 5,000 and a critical. So this unit can actually become 3 crit if you're going Force 2, which is pretty cool if your opponent just like doesn't like have, you know, if you have this card and you need to just create pressure for your opponent, like this is a great backup ride to just go into to create pressure for your opponent. Also, its activation skill, like I said before, if you have a Wyvern Strike Doha and a Wyvern Strike Garon on your rearguard, then you can Soul Blast 1, grade 3, and discard 2 cards from your hand, retire all your opponent's rearguards, and call a vision token to rearguard, and at the end of the turn, retire it. So, something important to note between the original Dragonic Blademaster and Soin is that Soin can be done on first ride. So, it didn't used to be a thing where you could just do a Dragonic Blademaster on first ride unless you happen to Soul Charge a grade 3 somehow, because this card has to Soul Blast out a grade 3 card to create a vision token and to wipe board. And you have to have Wyvern Strike Doha and Garon on the rearguard already, which is not ideal because that's just too many pieces lining up. So Soin basically takes some of those things out of the equation because you don't have to have Dohan and Garon. Those just ensure that you're going to get the board wipe. But no matter what, as long as you discard 2, you can get the vision token, and discarding 2 is not going to really be a big deal because you're going to drive check 2 and add it to your hand. So it's basically a break even whenever you do that. Moving on to our grade 2s, we have 12 grade 2s. So starting off, we have 4 Torrid Cannon Dragon. If you guys watched the Overlord video, this is a very important card in the Overlord deck, but it is also a card that works very well in this deck, and here's why. First of all, Counterboss 1 on Vanguard or Rearguard circle once per turn, and put a normal unit from the drop zone on the bottom of your deck. Choose one of your opponent's grade 2 or less rearguards, retire it, and if your hand has 4 or less cards, draw a card. So obviously if you're playing down a bunch of cards, especially in the early game, it's really easy to reach 4 cards or less in hand so that you're able to get the full skill off of this card. However, this card also lets you retire, so if your opponent has like some random cards in their back row or something like that, and you don't happen to have a a Garon or a Doha to be able to help board wipe, then you can like just retire with this card. Also, this lets you put normal units back from your drops onto your deck, so you can put back those Garons and those put back your Garons and your Dohas. But also we have a card, Shoja, in here that also recycles them. So you can also put back other stuff with it as well if you want to put back some of your grade 3s or, you know, whatever you want to put back. Then we have 4 Dragon Dancer Faja for our next grade 2. Basically, it has 2 abilities. The first one is a rearguard only ability that says during your turn, if your opponent has no rearguards, this unit gets plus 5,000 power. So it becomes a 15k beater by itself without doing anything. Just for doing what the deck does. And then a Vanguard Rearguard, when placed, you can look at the top 5 cards of your deck, reveal up to 1 Doha or Garon from among them, and put it into your hand, shuffle your deck. So this card's really good because, number 1, it's free. The second ability is free, so you can check top 5 for a +1 just for playing the card, and that's so free. Also, if you happen to get a Dohan, Dohan. I'm thinking about Gohan from Dragon Ball Z. Anyways, guys, if you happen to get a Doha, then you can use Doha's skill to search for Garon. So it all works out in like a little combination type way. And then it just also gives you extra leeway, because if you don't happen to get a Doha, you can also still get the Garon if it's there. So that's just adding another piece to your hand, and that's incredible. It also thins your deck out so that you can check out more triggers, and that is always really, really good. If you've been playing Vanguard for a while, you know that deck thinning is deck winning all the time. Moving on to actual Wyvern Strike Doha, one of the you know, premium pieces in the deck. So it has 2 abilities. Both are on Rearguard Circle. The first one says when placed from hand, counterblast 1, search your deck for up to 1 Wyvern Strike Garon, call it to Rearguard Circle, shuffle your deck. So like I said, if you have Doha and a counterblast, you can always get access to Garon. So the most important out of the 2 pieces to get is actually Doha, because you can access Garon at any time. The second Rearguard ability is during the battle that it attacked, if your opponent has no Rearguards, then your opponent cannot call normal units from his or her hand to Guardian Circle. What this means is that your opponent cannot guard with grade 2s, grade 1s, grade 3s, grade 4s. They cannot guard with any of those during the attack that Doha is attacking them. So they can only guard with grade 0s. So this makes it really, really interesting, because a lot of times the Doha column is too small or too big to be blocked efficiently. So when it's too small, if you can only guard with grade 0s, they will have to overguard to guard the attack. If it's too big, they will still have to overguard, but then like they might not even have enough. They might be like just a little bit short, because they would normally compensate that with a 5k grade 2 or a 10k grade 1 to block. So the guard restrict of this card is actually very, very strong, and you guys will see it in action shortly. Moving on to our grade 1s, we actually have 16 grade 1s in this deck. So that's a lot of grade 1s, but this deck also has a lot of defense as a result, because you have a lot of 10k shields in this deck as grade 1. So really, really cool. So first we have 4 Sable Dragonute. It has a Vanguard ability and a Rearguard ability. The Vanguard ability is when its attack hits, draw a card. So obviously this is your ideal ride target for grade 1, and this is most efficient when you're going second, or if you just decide to stay on grade 1 for a turn. I don't know why you would do that unless you don't have grade 2 or grade 3, but you know, it works. If you want to stay on it for a turn, let your attack hit, play a booster behind it, you know, that will encourage your opponent to not block it. And then basically when they don't block it, you basically go in and you try to win. Or sorry, you try to get your your draw card off. So basically you can draw a card on Vanguard Circle, and then on Rearguard Circle, when your opponent's Rearguard is retired during your turn, you can retire this unit and draw a card. So it basically does the same thing that Airmo does, except in Airmo's case, it draws a card and counter charges. So this card does not do that, but then it has the Vanguard skill to make up for it. So both Sable Dragonute and Airmo have their ups and downs about them. Moving on to our next grade 1, we have 4 Lava Flow Dragon. This is our grade 3 search generic grade 1 card that all of the clans have been getting, so you guys should be used to this by now. But the first skill is Vanguard Rearguard during your turn. If you have more Rearguards than your opponent, this unit gets plus 5,000 power. Should be super duper easy in this deck, considering that the point of this deck is to board wipe your opponent every single turn. Should be super ultra easy to get that condition off. And then the second ability is Vanguard Rearguard. When placed, look at the top 5 cards from your deck, reveal up to 1 grade 3 from among them, put it into your hand, shuffle your deck, and if you put a card into your hand, discard a card from your hand. Again, things that you discard in this deck are not lost to you forever because you have a lot of ways to recycle things. So you can even discard if you have like extra Dohas and extra Garons, like knowing that you're going to put them back with Tori Cannon or Shoja, you can also just do that and then have it, and then you'll be good. You get like essentially free cards because you're not losing them forever. Moving on to our next grade 1, we have 4 Flame of Hope ammo. It is an 11k booster when it boosts something, and then when our opponent's rearguard is retired during our turn, we can retire this unit, draw a card, and countercharge. So this keeps our resources alive. Also can be recycled just like everything else in the deck. So that makes this a really solid choice for the grade 1 lineup. And then we have 3 Wyvern Strike Garon. We don't really need to run 4 because it is searchable. So that gives us space to run the Shoja that we're running. But basically Garon's abilities are both on Rearguard Circle. During your turn, if your opponent has no rearguards, it gets plus 5,000 power. Again, just like Lava Flow in a way, but it requires that they have no rearguards instead of more than rearguards. But this unit becomes a 13k booster or attacker, so that's very, very good. And then the second ability is when the attack that it boosted a Doha hits, then you counterblast 1 and draw a card and soul charge 1. So ideally, you want Doha and Garon to be in the same column if you can help it. Moving on to our last grade 1 in the deck, we have 1 Dragon Dancer Shoja. So Shoja, what it does is when placed, Soul Blast 1, choose any number of Dohas and Garons from your drop zone, return them to your deck and shuffle, and then this unit gets plus 5,000 power for each card returned. So that's very, 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 very good because you can blow through so many Dohas and so many Garons, and in the early game you can discard them and do whatever you want. And then basically you can play Shoja and put all of them back and ensure that you're going to have either a really big swinging card or a really big boosting card. So that's very, very good. Then for our starter, we have 1 Wyvern Kid Ragla. This is our typical draw card when rode upon starter. And then if you went second, essentially, you get a quick shield from it. And then for our triggers, we run 8 crit, 4 draw, and 4 heal. 4 Angry Horn Dragon, 2 Rashka, 2 Rakshasa, Lasa? I don't know. I always mispronounce that card's name. You guys know if you watched my Kagero videos. But 2 Embodiment of Spiritar, 4 Wyvern Guard Berry, our Sentinel PG, and then we have 4 Mother Orb Dragon. So with that being the deck, we're going to get right into the games part of the video. So we're going to load up Blademaster Game 1. It looks like Game 1 we're playing against what seems to be Shadow Paladin. I want to say Claret Sword. Yep, it is Claret Sword. So we do ride Airmo and we draw. We're going first. Our opponent rides to Blue Espada, looking at top 3, not getting any of the targets. But he does lose some triggers out of that, which is good for us. But we go Faja, and then we check top 5. We get Doha. So we already, you know, got what we want for next turn. Our opponent uses Dark Pride, doesn't really get anything useful off of it, and then attacks us for 20. We take it, we get a draw trigger. We ride Soin, and then we go Force 1, actually, because I wanted to make my columns big. So we use Soin's skill to discard 2. And then I call the Airmo. We attack with the Vision token, which is 23. Our opponent 1 to passes us. And then we attack for 22, and our Vision token dies. He rides Claret Sword, goes Force 2. He doesn't realize that his triggers when he rides Claret Sword, you know, don't have to die. So I told him about that, and then he goes for a Blackwing Swordbreaker, drawing a card. His hand is pretty shifty right now. When I was playing him, I probably definitely didn't know what was going on with his hand, but his mills are also really, really bad. But he also played the 5k here, which is pretty interesting. Tech card that you can place, I guess, in here, which is Denma, which is basically if you don't block its attack, they can counterbounce 1, they deal you guaranteed damage. So I no-guarded just to flex him because I realized that he's going to need a counterblast for Claret Sword. So I no-guard him, and then he actually passes turn instead of doing the skill. So we re-ride another Soin. We play Doha. We use the skill of Soin. We wipe his board. And then we call our vision token. We use Airmo skill. And then we use Shoja, Soul Blasting, to put back 2 of our Dohas into our deck and against 10k. And then we play this on Rearguard. We attack with our vision token for 36. He guards for a 2 to pass. We don't get it. And we attack a Vanguard. And then we attack with the Rearguard. And he blocks that. So then he plays 2 Log on Rearguard Circle. We block them with ease. And then we 2 to pass his Cleric Sword. And he goes for the skill this time. Counterbossing 1 and removing 7 grade 1s from his drop zone so that he can restand. It's kind of a bad choice to restand at this point in juncture, in my opinion, because it's pretty easy to no pass it. But we no pass it, and then we continue on. We ride another, we call another Dohan. We discard 2, and we wipe his board. So we attack for 36. We get a draw trigger. And then we attack again. We get a crit this time. And then he takes 2 damage. And he does 6 damage heal. However, we attack him for 52. And then he doesn't have enough to guard it. And he can't guard with... like I was saying in the deck building part of the portion, that the guard restrict of Doha is actually very, very important. Because usually your opponent will compensate with their guards with... trying to guard with grade 1s and grade 2s. So since he only had a crit there, he could only make 48k shield, and then he takes a 6 damage and dies. Moving on, we are going to be heading into Blademaster Game 2. So it looks like this time we're playing against some kind of Royal Pod in deck. This looks like it might be Alt Mile. So we ride Sable Dragonute. Our opponent attacks us with Pongo. We take it. It's a heal trigger that we missed out on. We do get a Doha, but we do not have a grade 3, which so far we need. So we actually counterboss 1 to get a Garon. And we check top 5 for a grade 3. We do not get it so far. So we attack for 23, attack for 21. We get a crit. And then we attack Rearguard, and then he blocks it. So our opponent rides Ligu, and then attacks Rearguard Doha. We do G-Assist to get a grade 3, but we do get the Soin. So it's very, very good that we got that there. We basically made it. We discard 2 to put a vision token down, because I really wanted to get the drive checks in while he's at like a grade 2. Also, sometimes when you deal Alt Mile too much damage, they can't really handle it early. But we do check double crit, so it puts him to 5 damage. And then he heals and goes down to 4, and then he heals again. Also stays at 4 again. And then our vision token retires. He rides Aerial Divine Knight Alt Mile. And then gets Ligal from the drop zone and Rodley from his deck. He plays down some grade 2s. And he's getting his formation started here. This is actually a really, really bad matchup for him. Because of the whole board wipe thing. And that's why he was attacking into my Doha. But we do go for Faja top 5 and we get the Doha anyways. So then we use Doha's skill to get a Garon. And I actually messed up there because instead of going to hand, it's supposed to go to your rear guard. So I actually messed up there. But I think that he was going to be in a tough situation anyways this turn. So he actually goes for playing Palamedes. He soul charges. Uses the skill of Aerial Divine Knight Alt Mile to get a Violinist and a Tion. Attacks 13 to our rear guard. Attacks 23 and then attacks for 50 something, which we block. And we ride another Soin. We use Soin's skill to discard 2 and get a vision token. So even though we're not board wiping this time, it's fine because we got a vision token. So our opponent 1 passes us, and then 2 passes our Vanguard. So we don't check any triggers all the way through, which is kind of sucky, but it's cool. It's cool. Our opponent checks top 5 with Sisyphus and whiffs it. So our opponent attacks for 13. We no guard. He does get a heal trigger, healing down. And then he attacks with 2 crit which we block, and then he attacks 18 to our rearguard. We ride another Soin, and we go for top 5 again. We don't get anything, and then we discard 2 so that we can get that vision token. So we attack for 41. We get a heal this time, and then we attack Vanguard, and he no guards. We do get another heal, but it does not matter because he dies. So as you guys can see, like, a lot of decks just really suffer from Blademaster continuously blowing up your field every turn, because I always have said that the decks that are the hardest decks to fight in Vanguard are the decks that destroy your field and your hand at the same time, because it's really hard for you to make a comeback assault unless your deck just like naturally gets you advantage from other parts of the board, like drop zone or something like that. But for our third game, we're playing against Genesis. It looks like Astral Plane or Astral Force here. So we check top 5. We do get a grade 3. We discard our original Blademaster because we want to ride Soin anyways. So our opponent rides Atlas and does the Soul Charge. Attacks, we block it. We go for top 5 with Faja. We miss. And then we play a board. We go for 18, which our opponent takes. And then we go for 21, which our opponent takes. Our opponent rides Pluto of Deliberation. We no guard. And then we go for the Soin. We go for Garon. And then we discard 2 to get that vision token. It's kind of a minus low key, but I wanted to do it anyways, obviously, to get the drive checks while our opponent's still low. Also, Genesis is known for having very clunky hands, so it was just possible that he might not survive in general. So you guys can see that I told him he couldn't block with the normal unit, so he had to overguard by a significant amount and use 2 crits to block my attack. So he rides his Vanguard, calls his Rearguard. We no guard his Vanguard. He does get a heal, fortunately for him. We discard 2, we wipe his board, and then we get a vision token. We use our skills of our Rearguards to draw cards and replace them, and also dig into our deck deeper so that we can try to get some triggers going. Our opponent PGs our Vanguard. We check no triggers. And then our opponent blocks the Doha attack. And then we no guard his Vanguard. He gets a crit and a Valkyrian. And he has pretty much no choice but to attack Vanguard if he wants to get that extra force marker, which he did want to. This time we put the force 1 on the Doha column because he's definitely not going to be able to block. But we attack with a vision token. He no guards and we get a draw and a heal. And that ends up being GG for our opponent. But yeah, that is the future fight for the V-BT08 Blademaster deck. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to leave a thumbs up on the video. Comment down below letting me know your thoughts, what your builds of Blademaster are like. How are you faring in quarantine? Is your local still closed? Is it open? Are you having fun with your friends? Are you playing online? I know there's a lot of online tournaments that have been going on and stuff like that. So let me know what's been up with you guys. It's been a while since I've put out some content for you guys, but there will be a lot more where this came from. So definitely look forward to it. But with that being said, this has been a Cardfight Empire video. I have been your host, Josh Stallworth, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I will see you guys next time. Peace, guys.